So my grandma's about to die.
Oh, that's not good. Sorry, man.
Never
mind. Great.
Well, no.
Well, what the fuck do you want?
She's like deep into
like dementia. That's hard.
Yeah, and she, my mom texted me this afternoon about it. It was basically like, she won't like eat, she won't drink unless I'm there, and she's like, I can't be there 24/7.
Yeah, I mean
I know my brother was trying to call me about it, and I was just like, I don't want to fucking have this kind of conversation right now. Like, but also like, I don't know if it makes me heartless, but like, I'm in this mindset where it's like, at a certain point when like the people stop becoming like being those people anymore,
they're kind of already gone.
This is the thing.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think that's, that's reasonable. I mean, there's a measure of coping there too. 'Cause it's hard to watch that kind of shit.
But also, like, what's me like say, because I know they always like try to guilt me to go see these people, and I'm like, what
at this point?
No. What is me seeing them in that state going to do for either of us?
No.
It's the same thing that happened with my grandfather. I talked to him on the phone right before he died, and he was like fairly lucid, which was good. But like, I don't want to go and see him in hospice and like as he's dying.
And it's also different if you're there.
Yeah,
if you lived close, you can be like, I'll drive. Whatever.
I'm not gonna fucking fly.
I'll drive an hour, but
like 8 hours to go see somebody's like who and have a version of them in my head now for the rest of my life. That's the sick person.
100%. That shit's hard. I think that's a pretty reasonable reaction to have to that.
Welcome, residents, to the Dr. DC podcast.
Oh, no.
My name is producer Richard, and across from me is the doctor himself.
Hello? We're gathered here.
Is that not a good cold open?
Oh, God, please
don't. Talk about a cold open.
Are you going to put that whole thing in the cold open?
I mean...
I don't want to say it's funny,
but it's not. It's not.
What?
There's a part of it that's, for me, not super funny.
Listen, you're the one that edits the episode, so if you went and did it, I'm going to assume it was fine for us to talk about.
If I go back and it's still funny, I might do it.
Fucking yikes.
So if I did...
Wait, it's good to like build anticipation for our live episode.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Could you imagine people see that? You're like, I was reading the Toronto Star this week, and
oh man, your boys were in the fucking national news.
Well, they say if you're gonna go do stuff at the fucking Fan Expo.
I mean, listen, it's a long article. They say a lot of other stuff, but they say go to the Dr. DC
specifically
podcast.
The Dr. DC podcast.
I don't know how. I don't know anyone that works there. Nope. You didn't even know the Toronto Star was a paper, working in media feels like a problem.
That is not what
I had to describe that it's a paper to you.
That's not true. What it was, what I said was, is the Sunday edition that big of a deal?
That's not better. The Sunday edition's always a deal. Sunday New York Times is the big. That's the toughest crossword. It's the big one. Like, I can't believe you were hired into a news organization.
But at any rate, more than just hired into it.
Oh, I know. But at any rate, we were mentioned in the Toronto Star. So dumb.
Yep.
Pretty cool. Definitely gonna like clip that out and post it on.
Oh, absolutely. But all those people who are like, oh, this is a thing to do. Dr. DC podcast. Is it about medical stuff or is it like...
Yeah, at Fan Expo?
Yeah, let's give it a listen.
Yeah. One of my mom's friends started listening. If you're a friend of my mom and you're listening right now, A, I'm sorry. B,
what are you still doing?
Thank you. C, what's up?
What's up? What are you doing?
I already regret saying that.
What are you free?
This right now feels like when we won the first award and then all the ministers in town started listening to us, and we had to, every episode we were like, premiere. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
The Right Honorable Premier.
Yep. But like, Reed's mom's friend. Like, what's up? Like, we're gonna be in Toronto. Different area code. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
It's okay. My girlfriend will understand.
Cool, man. That's neat. But yeah, at any rate, weird energy for the start of this episode. Possibly weird energy in the cold open. We'll see if you went and did it or not.
Real cold.
I mean, arguably coldest.
Yeah, the coldest possible.
We're gonna pry that cold open from.
Oh my. I'm sad that your mom's not going to be in town when we get there.
No, she won't be there. They're they're out of town right now. But
knowing how well she draws, I mean, see what else those hands can do.
What the fuck? If you think I won't fucking murder you on stage at Fan Expo,
oh man, but the downloads we'd get,
it would be our best episode.
Yeah, no.
Hashtag sweet release.
Well, because if you kill me, you got to kill yourself. So
I mean, I don't have to. I would.
Yeah, I'd happily do so. But
yeah,
it's less. It's important that I know that you don't have to.
Oh no,
it's a choice that you're making.
Don't worry, I never have to.
Yeah, it's a meaningful thing for me.
If anything, it's just it's an excuse.
Yeah, it's an opportunity.
If my mom's friends are listening, I'm fine. I'm a comedian.
Listen to Shredded and Dead on iTunes.
Listen to Stand Up North, Shredded and Dead. It's a Just for Laughs album on iTunes, and it'll make you feel great about how I'm doing.
Your general disposition is fine.
Yeah.
Each week we talk about the weird and wonderful world of DC while fielding questions from listeners like you, baby. Speaking of listeners like you, we got a 5-star review.
Holy shit.
That's right. You fucking appreciate the value that we have.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, we deserve this.
Yeah. Much like this live recording opportunity.
And media coverage.
That's right.
We deserve this.
Yeah, if anything, this 5 stars is not enough.
I feel like we're not going to win podcast awards this year.
I mean, we said that last year too, but
that's true too.
There's a few segments.
You're right. We're gonna win more this year.
It's a few categories we haven't gotten up for.
Yeah, best news.
Why not?
We got to start bringing the news segment back.
Look, if there's anybody who's going to be perfectly set up to do that, it's the guy who didn't know how important the Toronto Sun is.
Hell yeah. Star.
Sure.
The Toronto Sun's not important.
No.
Unless you like bikini models.
Can you do your own, can you be our new sunshine girl?
Oh, I could.
Yeah.
More like an eclipse man.
Eclipso.
Just blocking out the sun.
5-star review from Draco Folly, Apple Podcasts USA, with the title Favorite Comic Podcast.
Love it.
Funniest podcast in Canada. I like
It's true.
disclaimer. Love listening to these guys. It's also nice to hear a podcast that's not just jaded creatives mad they're not working in their industry.
Yeah.
And look, I'll tell you, if you want a podcast like that, there's a comics podcast I can recommend.
We're not jaded about not being in the industry. We're jaded about a lot of other shit.
Yeah, but not that.
Like why actually am I? I don't know. Never mind. I'm not fucking jaded.
Yeah, you're too depressed to be jaded.
I'm too sad to be jaded.
Yeah. It sounds like a 90s alternative rock record or something. Too sad to be jaded.
Or the suicide note of a jeweler.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
Speaking of...
Aerosmith had a song called Jaded.
Yeah. Speaking of...
You're so jaded, and I'm the one that jaded you.
Here's my problem with Aerosmith is that they were trying to do a classic rock thing in the 90s, and I'd always...
It came back, though, because that was when Bon Jovi came back. They weren't the only ones. Classic rock made a brief kind of clawback late 90s, very early 2000s before hip-hop crushed it entirely.
As deservingly.
Get fucked.
I'm sorry.
You don't like
I forgot
rock?
your feelings about the hip-hop people. I apologize.
No, it's that I like...
yeah.
God damn it. No.
No,
How
it's
dare
fine.
you spin it like that?
We all get with their low-rise pants.
Listen, I have no problem with hip-hop.
It's
the way you start a totally safe sentence.
It's just...
Nope, I'm good.
Speaking of negative emotions, we're talking about betrayal.
Betrayal. Oh my god.
Yeah, fucking betrayal me. Betrayal me.
Oh, I see. Yeah. I'm gonna run a betrain
on the betrayal
of treachery on you. Yeah.
We're so good at this.
Man, we're funny, man.
We're like good at this.
That's cool.
So good.
We're good to be this way.
Who first did it? Us.
Yeah, we're talking betrayals. All sorts,
This is a whole accidental month of episodes that I'm choosing.
I mean, you've been doing a great job, by the way, of choosing some good themes.
I got a whole list of different themes.
I think it's because I let you have like the first 6.5 years of the podcast to rest, and now I'm calling on you.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
If anything, I think it's the hardest time because so much of the good ideas have already been taken.
Thank you.
Only just because they're all of the ideas. It's fucking 395 other ideas. It's hard.
How dare you? There's so many ideas left, probably.
Not why I asked you
but
to do them.
Anyway.
But we got a bunch of options.
We do have a bunch of options.
This Topo Chico's hitting, baby.
Yeah.
We've betrayal in DC Comics. It's a thing that happens a lot. It's we've had it with Robins.
Yeah, keep going. I like where this is headed.
Yeah, Brother Eye. That's all about Batman's betrayal and being betrayed.
He's paying attention. I'm rock hard. Keep going. Keep going.
Speedy was like an ethical betrayal of Green Arrow.
Oh, the heroin thing?
Yeah.
Is it my birthday?
That's why I sucked your dick before this.
Wait.
Well, wait.
Yeah, fun fact, I have a birthday every week.
You told me that's how birthdays work. All right, let's get to the question. Well, I'm sorry, what were you going to say? What were you going to say? Breathe. What were you going to say? It's okay, I'll edit it out.
It's actually kind of like jazz. It's about all the birthdays that don't happen.
Oh no. That's an abortion of a joke.
Oh, Jesus. I just meant from semen, not that.
Oh, that's very funny.
Jesus.
Oops.
Good Lord. That was darker than the cold open.
Let's go to Facebook.
Go to the face of the book. Go to the Facebook.
First question comes from We've Only Just Done. Who asks, God, that was the best one I've done in fucking years.
I mean, shouldn't say it about yourself. But.
What, that I'm doing a great job?
Yeah, it feels self-serving.
Yeah. Yes. That's all this is.
Oh.
Actually, no, this is serving you, but
well,
Ghostfacers is serving me. Who was hurt the most when Sinestro betrayed the Green Lantern Corps?
Me. No. Yeah, so Sinestro started as a Green Lantern. Mm-hmm. And that's always been the case. Like even in the Silver Age, when we first learned this story. Now, what was different back then was that Sinestro wasn't like Hal's partner, wasn't the one that trained him. That's a later retcon. Sure. Back then, it was just the Guardians were like, Sinestro's our big bad guy. We should tell you about him. He was a Green Lantern that betrayed the cause of the Corps and became this despotic ruler on his home planet. And we, exiled him to the antimatter universe, to Quard. So that piece of it has always been part of Sinestro's story. I mean, he obviously betrayed the Corps. He betrayed the Guardians. But really, the biggest betrayal is probably the people of Korugar, right? Like, his big crime in that initial, when we learn about him and his origin in the Silver Age, is that as a Green Lantern, he's like, I have the power to, like, impose order or whatever. And he goes to Korugar and becomes a dictator. Mm-hmm. He ignores the other like planets in his sector. So there's kind of a betrayal of his like oath of security for them and shit too. All the like he's not what sector is it? 1417 or 1714?
1714.
I can't remember which. I think it's 1417. All the other like habitable worlds there. He's not patrolling them because he's busy being a dictator on his home world. So he's betraying basically his whole sector in terms of they believe they should be counting on a Green Lantern that's not there for them. He's betraying his people on Korrigar by imposing himself as this like malicious dictator, like objectively making life worse for them and everything. So yeah, I mean, yes, he betrayed the Corps, but you know, he betrayed his people. He betrayed his. I mean, he didn't really betray himself because it kind of shows who he really was, right? But yeah, he betrayed his people, his planet, and the trust of them, and stuff like that. I would argue that the Korrigarians were probably hurt the most by Sinestro's betrayal. The Corps gets over that; they just fight him a bunch. You know what I mean? Like, even though he becomes a sort of constant thorn in their side, he doesn't hurt them anywhere near the way he hurts his own people. I would say,
for sure.
He convinces himself that's not the case, but that's different from what the truth is, you know?
Okay. Well, with that, why don't we leave Facebook? And what?
I don't know. This just felt like abrupt.
Well, because you didn't really end it. That's why.
Listen, we've got a live show. We gotta be smooth. Why don't you say that again? Really ease me out of that. He betrayed his people.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate when you see stuff like that. But you know what? I mean, Sinestro ends up becoming such a great villain, and it sort of makes it worthwhile.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. Just keep co-hosting.
Oh, yeah. Let me show you my wet joy hose. Gotta listen to both podcasts.
Gotta listen to Ghostfacers. It's all a crossover.
That's right. We're leaving Facebook now, and we're heading over to Threads.
Threads. I was doing fine until you did.
You're going to have to do this in front of...
We have a live show. Let me fucking get it right.
You're going to have to do like in front of 175 people.
Threads.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. I apologize.
Fucking nailed it. Oh, no. I dropped some Topo Chico.
Daddy.
I'm going to suck it out of my shorts here.
Oh, my God. Let me do it. It's poisonous. I'll suck it out.
Jesus.
All right. First question from Threads comes from Ty Jarris, who asks, Batman having a plan to take out his friends, betrayal or smart?
I want you to take this one first.
I mean, I think it could be both.
I agree.
I think that at the end of the day, the thing that makes Batman so great is that he always has a plan for everything, right? For him to have an idea to basically like make sure that there's a continuity plan for all of his allies who, I mean, as we've seen,
it's not a continuity plan. It's not like in case they retire.
Well, in case they fucking...
It's a contingency plan.
Same thing.
They're going on vacation for a couple of weeks. He needs to know what projects they're in the middle of. Yeah, it's a continuity plan.
Yeah, but I think that he is... We've seen in Justice League, like how many characters have like had to go bad temporarily because of a type of kryptonite or because of some fucking magic or like whatever, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's mind control. It's a version of them from a parallel Earth. There's
a million reasons of why.
Someone's got their family hostage. It's,
and then to find out that like his memories are not potentially what he thinks they could be. Well, he's got every right to protect himself, even more so.
Well, certainly that's the Brother Eye justification, right?
Yeah.
He was the one betrayed first when they stole his memories, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's his house, so he's allowed to protect himself.
Yeah, Batman's just standing his ground. Here's my contingency plan.
Yeah, I think it's both. It's betrayal of them, but in a way that it's sort of like should be expected from Batman.
No, I totally agree. It is both.
He's also the only one without powers.
It is smart to, at least in some capacity, think of how you would
neutralize
how you would deal with something going sideways. That doesn't mean you need a airtight plan to kill them all or something, but like. You have to have thought about it. You're the most powerful people on the planet. It'd be so easy in all these things we talked about. It doesn't even have to be their fault. Mind control, magic, a parallel Earth, dimensional incursion, whatever, right? But it absolutely constitutes a betrayal. He's betraying their trust by having these plans and them not knowing about it.
Absolutely.
Superman gives Batman a piece of kryptonite. Superman knows what's up. That's not a betrayal. But when Batman is like, oh, I wrote like a virus to disable Cyborg, I didn't tell him, obviously. Yeah. But like that starts to be a betrayal. It's also smart. Of course, it never looks smart when the plans get stolen by Ra's al Ghul or something like that. Or Brother Eye becomes sentient and starts, making an army of Omax. Then it doesn't look that smart, does it? But it would be dumber to think that he'd never need to think about it.
Exactly.
So, yeah,
Definitely.
I agree.
All right, next question from Mara in Iowa, who asks, so it seems like whenever anyone in the DC universe discovers a previously unknown family member, they turn out to be a varying degree of evil. Why would any DC superhero just automatically trust that their new sibling, parent, child is totally fine and good and not totally going to betray them?
There is a little bit of a trope of like previously unknown relation.
I mean, that's not even a comic thing. That's like
just general.
Media. Like,
but something
that's
else
just
is going on.
Life.
Yeah, in real. Yeah.
Anytime your family shows up.
They did it in the most recent, like not the most recent, but the John's Shazam run.
Sure.
Where Billy's dad showed up, and it turned out that he was working for Mr. Mind or some bullshit like that. Wonder Woman had a brother briefly, Jason, and he briefly kind of turned, but he ended up being good. But even when they end up being good, there's always like they think they're doing the right thing, they're doing the wrong thing. There was a familial betrayal in Aquaman the Becoming. There's everyone's got one, basically. Why is that the case?
Or why would they why would you trust anybody? At that point? But I think also it's like, it's not like you're aware of that trope in the universe.
Well, A, that.
Yeah.
B, for a lot of these characters, unless you're Batman, trust is more of your default state. You give people the benefit of the doubt. If they show themselves to be the bad guy, that says something about them, not about you. Now, that's obviously an easy philosophical position to say. It's like,
trust no one.
People kind of died when you trusted them, but generally that's where they stand. You default to trust, and also a lot of these people have fucked up families.
Yeah,
they want nothing more than real family, your parents were dead, or you never had a sibling, or you grew up weird, or whatever. They're like, great, this is a sense of what everyone else got, a sense of something like normalcy or something like that, right? So I do think it's hitting them in a bit of an emotional blind spot too, I think, is the other piece of that. But yeah, I mean, even in comics where they go I'm going to keep an eye on you, I don't 100% they still no one. You also don't build trust by distrusting.
Sure.
So even if they are wary, or they know I don't know who this person is, I can't 100% trust them. They kind of have to go, I'll take the leap of faith because I'm leading by example, and hopefully they will reciprocate. That's kind of just comes with the territory as a hero, right? Mm. So it's sort of baked in a way. There's kind of no other way it could go.
What's part of that thing which we talked about last week, which is Superman can't just fucking kill these bad guys. At a certain point, he just has to hope that they'll do good.
Yeah,
and has to always approach them like they've now turned over a new leaf.
Yeah, and it doesn't mean that he's naive, and it doesn't mean that he doesn't stop them.
He's hopeful though.
But there is if there's any indication that they're making a change or turning a corner, you go with it because that's the goal. That's the hope eventually. So, yeah.
Exactly. All right. Well, with that, why don't we leave Threads and head over to Instagram?
Now we're going to Instagram, take some questions and answer them.
First question comes from the real Josh Gill.
Oh, sexy Gill. Particularly sexy lately. Some gardening stories.
Between the workout videos and being domesticated.
Josh, could you repost that like landscaping one, but just with Genuine's pony under it?
I'm gonna ride that carrot.
Just ripping roots out of the ground.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Hell yeah! I ripped my root out of the ground.
Easy.
Out of the me. Pull my dick off. That's what I'm asking.
Oh, Jesus.
Rip it off.
Good Lord.
Plant it in the dirt.
Yeah.
Grow a dick tree.
Cool.
That's how it works.
Yeah?
There's seed.
Jesus.
Josh
Christ.
asks, which of you will betray the other first? What do you... Oh, do you think your car's going off?
It wasn't, but I was just making sure.
Okay. I think I've like historically already betrayed you many times.
Yeah, I mean, definitely you. You would you have, and also you will be the first to do it again.
You're also the most
The only betrayal I've ever done of you was by accident on the Patreon last week.
We do not speak of that.
That's the only and the first Docmas where we were like overmixing your drinks.
Yeah, but that was you were being influenced by a bad influence.
Yeah, nice.
From who do we do not speak.
Yeah. I mean, you're definitely the betrayer of the two of
You
us,
also
'cause you find it too funny.
You're consistent. You.
I'm the hero. I want to believe. I take
don't know if that's
I take
true.
the trusting leap of faith.
No, you just go along with the flow.
What do people say about me? That I'm super trusting, that I see the best in
Nope,
people.
none of those things are true.
That's pretty much how I am.
No, if anything, you just
Sort of a Superman type.
You just go with the flow as things are. Just play your role, do your job. That's all. Just
Sort of making me sound kind of passive.
almost like you are.
That can't be right.
You
I'm
do
definitely
something
the
about-
hero of my own story.
You
so
do something about it?
yeah. Who could be bothered?
Yeah. See, I'm active, and sometimes that means I have to betray.
I don't think it means you have to.
I'm like a bard. That's why I chose the bard.
Oh yeah, hell yeah.
Baldur's Gate,
I'm a
baby.
sorcerer.
Yeah. Behind the scenes, making.
I'm a high half elf.
Ooh, I'm a half elf.
Blaze, I'm a high half elf.
I'm a wood half elf because I'm fucking rocking a half chub.
Nice. we can't talk about Baldur's Gate right now. Save that for a fucking Patreon
Patreon
app.
coming.
That's
oh
a
my
Patreon
god. Oh, September 6th. Oh.
Yeah, no. Richard would betray me. He has betrayed me first, and
I
he
will
would
again.
betray me first again.
I maybe have some betrayals in the future coming.
I don't want to talk about it. I'm already nervous enough.
Yeah. Who knows? Anything's possible,
I'm aware.
and anything will happen.
Oh, anything will happen?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Not everything will happen. Anything
Sure.
will happen.
I love it.
Yeah. Just leaving it up to the universe to decide. Just rolling that 20-sided die.
Oh, no. Oh, we're absolutely going to nat one on this live show.
Just not record. No one
mics
shows up.
burst into flame.
Yeah, explode in our faces. Gonna look like those vampires that ate that Supercrow shit.
Yeah, they both turned into Two-Face.
Oh my god, fuck. That would be good though for the show.
It would be good for the show.
Yeah, we got the coin. You can't flip it.
And
but
think of the podcast artwork. Our real faces in the middle, the hideous faces on the outside. So the explosion's between us, so we get opposite side burns.
Yeah. So the burn face, and then our real face is the bad side.
Well, maybe the real one was the burned one the whole time.
Oh, that's the sort of
Yeah.
thesis of the podcast.
Yeah. And it's great when you say it as text, not subtext.
Yeah.
That's when it's good.
That's how you know, so people don't not know. Next question from Robbie's Just This Guy. What are some of Amanda Waller's greatest hits?
I mean, Waller is just so unscrupulous, you know. Even in a story where it looks like she loses, she's always
That was her plan the whole time.
she already got what she wanted. The rest of it was like false flag kind of shit. Like, you know, it's betrayal isn't necessarily, but
Yeah.
it's like deceit, constant deceit with Waller.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah, what's a good example? Waller, I mean, God, she's probably betrayed members of the Suicide Squad a ton of times.
I mean,
like
everything she does is betraying them.
Yeah, you know, especially in the sense of never giving them all the information. Think of even what they do in the movie, right? It's giving one person a mission and the others don't know or whatever. So in the movie, how that manifests is go and destroy this building and stop Project Starfish. But the mission is really make sure no information about America's involvement in Starfish gets public.
Every time I
and
go to
that's
the
why
bathroom,
Peacemaker kills Rick Flag in that movie.
Every time I go to the bathroom, it's called Project Starfish.
Oh, Project Starfish and the chocolate flavored water, the hot dog flavored water.
No, chocolate flavored water.
Oh no. But you know what I mean? Like, and that's just the movie example. But like Waller is all that. There's always a layer of
and a bag of chips
of that, or you know that in Justice League versus Suicide Squad, it looks like the Justice League won, but really she managed to get what she wanted. She set up a different Task Force X kind of thing. Like,
has anyone ever gotten out of the Suicide Squad? Like they've done so many missions that they get to go out.
Yeah, like Boomer's gotten out before.
Like, because he like did enough missions.
Oh yeah, because he's like a regular. So like,
okay,
Boomer's gotten out. Harley's gotten out.
Really? Wow. Because I just assumed that it's like the trick is like you're gonna get reduced in.
I mean, certainly that's a piece of it, but there are a few people that have actually earned their way out.
Oh wow.
Yeah. There's also the thing that she'll do where it's like she'll send like one team in, but really they're just there to be fodder. And
we saw that in the movie.
And if they overperform, then she's like, "Fuck, that wasn't the plan." It'd be like she'll engineer like a hero like she'll do that kind of shit.
Sure.
You know, like yeah. I mean, Waller, I think ended up, but she ended up working for President Luthor. Like when he was in that position, she was a secretary of something.
Sure. But
she ends up turning on Luthor, not like undeservedly. Luthor went crazy, but she does turn on Luthor in that one. You know, the Waller ultimately, she does have a sort of line of like what she's doing for America or for Earth or for whatever. And sometimes that means betraying. Like her current thing is like we should kill all metahumans, get rid of all supers.
Sure.
Villain and hero.
Okay.
And there's always this line of like, it's for humanity or whatever. But like ultimately, if it came down to a person over there could do this mission better than you, she would fuck them over, so she would do it. Well, like there is a self-serving thing to Waller too, where whether or not she's right, she believes she's the one that should do it. So even if there was technically a better option to achieve her goal, she'd fuck that over so she could do it.
Sure.
Like, as much as Waller does kind of have a little bit of a like bigger picture thing, it's about her. She is relatively self-serving.
She's not trying to take out that other multiverse, that other universe anymore.
She was on Earth 3. I think she's back because at the end of Dark Crisis, we saw her conferring with some sort of like, you know, like screens of like blank faces.
Sure.
Saying that she was trying to assemble like we got to take out metas.
Okay.
And that has been kind of slowly
percolating,
but not too much has come of that since.
Nice. All right. Next question comes from Garrett Homison, who asks, what is the betrayal in DC that shocked you the most? The one that was the most out of character.
So two different questions.
But maybe one is the other one. Who knows?
The one that shocked me the most is probably, it's the first time I read Countdown to Infinite Crisis.
Sure.
And it's an 80-page one-shot that leads into the 4 lead-in events that eventually culminate in Infinite Crisis. Yeah. But that one-shot, you follow Blue Beetle, Ted Kord, and he's like, something, like there's a conspiracy afoot, and he starts investigating. Every time he asks for help, people go like, Ted, you're such a fucking joke. Like, that whole era, the Bwaha League, it kind of comes back to bite him. Martian Manhunter doesn't take him seriously. Wonder Woman goes like, oh, I'll help you, give me a call, but she's busy. Superman kind of goes like, Ted, I want to believe in you, but Batman doesn't believe him. No one believes him. And Ted goes off on his own to Switzerland, and he finds this castle, and he finds this plan. He finds that they've got files on all the superheroes. They know their identities. They know their whatever. And who's behind it? It's Maxwell Lord. It was the guy that was just sort of like the administrator of the JLI.
Sure.
And Max shoots Ted in the head. Just shoots him in the head and kills him.
Yeah, that's right.
And now keep in mind, when I read this, it was years after that had come out, but I didn't know. Like, I was getting back into things. I was reading more modern stuff, and I just didn't know. And I read that, and I was like, well, he's going to get out of this. And it looked like he would for a bit, and then his arm gets broken and shit like that, and he says, rotten hell, Max, and Max just pulls the trigger, blows his brains out. And I was like, oh, shit. So I suppose it's maybe not the betrayal. Like, Maxwell Lord, what I knew about him at the time, I was like, oh, okay, interesting. He's made a turn for the bad. I think it was like the degree of betrayal, right? Mm-hmm. It wasn't like, Ted, I don't want to do this, but like, it was like right away, he could just do that. He was that cold about it. That's a pretty big one. Ted's death, as far as comics go, was what I would call relatively permanent. Ted is back and alive and shit in comics now, but Countdown to Infinite Crisis was what, like 2004, 2005 maybe? Ted was still dead into like, or not confirmed alive rather, into the New 52.
Yeah.
He didn't appear again until it was a completely rebooted continuity and we were 2 years in. It was like 2013 the next time we saw any Ted Kord.
Wow.
So as far as comics go, relatively permanent, and it leads to Jaime Reyes and the new Blue Beetle and all that kind of shit. Pretty significant one.
Yeah.
But not necessarily out of character. A bit of a stretch for Maxwell Lord, but not a ton. Maxwell Lord was always kind of unethical or of dubious morality. We'd never seen him kill or any shit like that, but it didn't feel like as much of a stretch. The one that feels out of character, we talked about it a bit last week, it's Jean Loring. It's Identity Crisis.
Killing Sue Dibney.
It's because the thing in Identity Crisis, we're always hung up on the Dr. Light raped Sue Dibney thing, but that's a flashback. That's not the plot of Identity Crisis.
Yeah.
The plot is that Sue has had a stroke and died. Or, sorry, not that she's had a stroke and died. It's that she's been found torched. Her body's been burned and she's dead. And everyone's like, what the fuck? And as they're like, what the fuck? Then the talk is like, is it one of our old villains? Is it the one that we mind wiped? And we flash back to all of that other awful shit we always talk about when we talk about Identity Crisis. But the real thing was that Jean Loring stole. So Jean Loring was the ex-wife of Ray Palmer, the Atom. She steals his biobelt, shrinks, gets into Sue's brain. She wants to give her just like a seizure or something, so that everyone will get concerned about their partners, and she thinks it'll make like Ray come back to her. But she accidentally like kicks too hard, fucking gives Sue an aneurysm, kills her, freaks out, and torches the body to try to cover up the evidence. Jesus. And Jean Loring previously had either been just like a kind of cold wife to Ray Palmer or just a side character. No indication of like mental instability, kind of like not in a way like this, nothing like this.
No,
that's a true like crazy thing. She ends up in Arkham. She ends up being the host for Eclipso. Like she goes in a sort of wild tangent after this, but truly that's like a bonkers out of character moment for Jean, I would say.
Yeah, totally.
Jean and Ray, like their marriage had broken up like a couple decades earlier, like in comics, but yeah, that moment's like horrific, so out of character. And they have to do that thing even in the art where she starts like smiling like this, where it's like, oh, she's crazy, because they also know this Jean wouldn't do this, so they basically have to pitch she's lost her mind, and it's just a vessel for carnage, not, you know what I mean, like, because they know it's not the Hal Parallax thing. There's no actual justification character-wise for her doing it.
No, it
they just have to go, meh, crazy.
Yeah.
So like that sucks.
I heard she was on her period.
I mean, they might as well. It's not a, like,
I know.
They're all garbage justifications. So,
totally.
Is there any that you can think of that you've encountered?
Maybe like Wally West and like Heroes in Crisis.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, that's like utter bullshit. I mean, it was, quote, an accident.
He like had an energy explosion, and then
but then that was an accident.
It was the framing of
but
Booster.
He framed Booster and Harley. Yeah, exactly, which is fucked up. They've since gone back and retconned all of that, and I fucking love it. That like everyone's alive. They were just transported somewhere else, and blah blah blah. Like it took this much time and like two people, and they were like, Heroes of Crisis never happened.
Absolutely. A great concept that they fucking like absolutely like
fumbled. The concept of Sanctuary was great.
Sorry, that's more what I mean.
The conceit of Heroes in Crisis was flawed from the beginning.
No. Sanctuary is more what I mean. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Anyways, next question comes from Draco Folly, who asks, when did DC most betray the readers? I mean, there's the one we always talk about.
Wait, what's the one we always talk about?
Which is the readers guessed who the big reveal was going to be.
Oh, the Armageddon 2001 thing? Yeah, I suppose that's one. I mean, I think the answer people want me to say is like the New 52 or like some shit like that. I would argue the Batman Catwoman wedding.
Sure.
That's a betrayal.
Yeah.
Likewise, the Batwoman wedding.
Yeah.
That never happened. That's a betrayal.
Yep.
You know, these things that were promised and then kind of snatched away, or like I know, like it was part of King's story, but like it was in the way that I hate that Booster Gold arc.
Yeah.
Which I think is called The Gift. Someone corrected me because I couldn't remember the name of it. That's where they go like, oh no, to be proper Batman, he can't be happy. Like whatever. That's a bullshit thing that we've heard in Batman Forever. That's fine. But that Catwoman was somehow under like Bane's thumb or control or like complicit in Bane's plan. That shit, I was like, absolutely fucking not.
No.
You know what I mean? Like that's a big. I'd argue things like that, or Batwoman and Maggie Sawyer are supposed to be getting married, and then Dan DiDio is like, married heroes aren't good heroes, and they were like, okay, well, I guess we won't have our landmark lesbian wedding then. Insane. You know, like that's bullshit. That fucking sucks. Those are bigger betrayals to me than like, where's Wally? Where's like? I mean, I shouldn't be whining, but like, it's true. It's nice to have those characters back. The New 52 kind of fucked that generation of character, but really the bigger things are like stuff like that where it's like, it's happening. Get your wedding issues. Prelude to the wedding, and then the wedding issue gets there. And it's like, there's no wedding.
Yeah.
It's like, well, fuck you then.
That's
worse than a Death of Superman thing and he's back in 8 months, because at least he died. I mean, more or less. Died. You know what I mean? Sure, there was a Kryptonian regeneration matrix or whatever the fuck, but like, he died. Batman's back got broken. Hal went bad. Ollie blew up. Like, yeah, they all came back, but that shit happened to them. The wedding one is like, get the wedding issue, and there's no wedding. It's like, fuck you.
Yeah.
That kind of shit, really. But so truly, anything that falls into that category, I'm sure there's all sorts of stuff out there that people can name or think of. But anything that falls into that category of like, it's solicited, it's a landmark thing that's coming, and then they just go, no.
Sure.
Get fucked.
Yeah.
That sucks. Like,
anything else that comes to mind?
That's the immediate stuff for me.
Because there's difference between DC like making bad choices and then immediately betraying it.
But that's why I'm saying those things, because like those are like, we were promised this.
Yes.
And then it's not just like they were like, get Batman 50, and we're like, I think based on the story they probably are getting married next issue. It was like, there was a prelude to the wedding thing. There were one shots. It was like, get your special wedding variant, get all of this shit. And then it was like, no wedding. Catwoman's working for Bane. It was like, whatever the fuck was happening. Like that's bullshit. You know, like that's why I say that it's different than just like, I didn't like what they did with this. You know what I mean?
It's like, of course, like you expected them to get married, but something would happen during the wedding. But like they would still get married.
Like I'm not even saying the Rick Grayson thing, which is a betrayal of Dick's character, but that's just it was just a bad story and a bad choice.
Yeah.
It's not the same thing
between an actual like betrayal of the audience.
You know what I mean? Like that's That's the line I'm trying to draw there, I guess.
Yeah.
You could make the argument about Death of Superman. Like, story-wise, I think we've moved past it. Like, no one's mad that Superman came back. It did only take 8 months, but it was across 4 titles. We got new characters out of it. There was, like, an interesting story. But on the, like, the speculator, like, collector side of it, that burst the bubble. It bottomed out the market, right? Because it was like, Superman's dead. Get your issues. And 8 months later, it was like, oh, fuck.
I mean,
and too many people got it, and they printed so many that it like bottomed. Like, I think there are elements. I don't think anyone's mad story wise about how Death of Superman and Reign of the Superman turned out necessarily,
sure,
or like in general. But I do think there was an element of like, it was news, Superman's going to die, and they were like, he's dying. And remember, this is before the litany of
character deaths.
It was before we just assumed it wouldn't be permanent.
Yeah.
You can't take that for granted either. And it was like, it was on the news. Like, this shit was happening. And people bought these issues, but then they printed so many that they dropped in value, and then he came back at, like, I think on that side of it, you could argue a bit of a betrayal that way. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
Story-wise, it's fine. We're fans. We like it. I love Reign of the Superman. I think like Death of Superman's a great story. We love those characters and that. But if you were like a speculator or like an investor or like, like there's an argument for a betrayal there.
Sure,
I think.
yeah, absolutely.
You didn't even make it a year before Clark was back.
Yeah.
Just undermined that entire idea of the death kind of thing.
No, I think those are fair.
Yeah.
All right. Next, we've got a question from Keegan Steedman.
All right.
Who asks, I'm a strong believer that Emerald Twilight is by far Hal Jordan's best or story arc, and he should now and always be the Spectre. Hal betraying the Lantern Corps as well as his friends, as well as the redemption as the Spirit of Vengeance, is the type of story that got me into comics, and is a shame they retconned the incident to being the spirit of the Yellow Lanterns using Hal.
Right. So, this thing that we talked about, Hal became Parallax, but Parallax is now the fear thing. It's the yellow entity.
Yeah.
So when it first happened in Emerald Twilight, Hal just took the name Parallax, and the name Parallax comes from like what Parallax is, like parallax view, like parallax vision, which is where you see something from a different angle. And Hal was like, Hal felt betrayed by the Guardians because Coast City was destroyed. His hometown was destroyed by Mongol and Cyborg Superman.
Yeah.
And the Guardians wouldn't help him rebuild it, and they wouldn't let him use his ring to rebuild it. And he was like, after all I've fucking done for this goddamn Corps, and he felt betrayed.
Yeah.
And then he was like, well, do you know what? If I just get more power, I'll do it anyway. And he kind of Sinestros. That's the ultimate thing of it. And he destroys the Corps. He fucking snaps Sinestro's neck, which turns out it was just a construct. But at the time, he killed Sinestro. He exploded the central power battery, and he took all of the power, and he became Parallax. Mm-hmm. And that was him. He did that. And when people would talk to him later, other heroes, they'd be like, Hal, what did you do? And he wasn't like, I'm Parallax. He would just go like, I've had enough of this shit. I see things differently now. He had a turn.
Yeah.
He eventually finds his heroic side again and sacrifices himself to reignite the sun during Final Night, when a Sun Eater had sort of damaged the sun and Earth was freezing and shit like that. That's when he dies. And then he, after Day of Judgment, he becomes the host for the Spectre. Mm-hmm. His soul, his spirit.
Yeah.
And then his whole arc as the Spectre is, the Spectre's mission is vengeance. And Hal is like, all the shit I did, like, I need to believe redemption is a thing. He tries to make the Spectre's mission redemption. Instead of punishing Two-Face, he tries to heal him. It doesn't work, but he tries,
Yeah.
And that's an interesting arc. But to the point of this question, ignore the retcon thing of Green Lantern Rebirth, which is that Hal was actually possessed by Parallax. Yeah. So it, quote, wasn't really him or whatever bullshit. Ignore all of that. The arc that Hal was on could only end one of two ways. He gets redemption, finds redemption, and comes back to life and rejoins kind of the community as some kind of hero. Or he gets his redemption and he moves on eternally to heaven, and he's out.
Yeah.
And Hal's written out the way Barry was written. You know what I mean? Either of those are fine options, but he couldn't have stayed the Spectre, because at a certain point, he succeeds in the redemption mission with the Spectre,
sure,
or he fails and he's permanently a sort of vengeance thing, which is Parallax. Parallax was about vengeance.
Yeah.
You know? And so it wouldn't have worked to keep him there. At some point, somewhere along the lines, we're talking like a decade or so, you know what I mean? Like, you get lots of mileage out of that shit, but at some point, it wasn't going to work anymore. The Parallax the retcon thing is like, I agree, it's maybe like a little less satisfied, but they were like, we've made the decision to bring him back as a hero. We got to get people on board.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to do that was he succumbed to fear and Parallax possessed him, and we know what happened then.
Yeah.
I think Hal still has to live with it. He was still the one that let Parallax in. If he's supposed to be the man without fear, that moment he let evil win through him. You know what I mean? He's not totally absolved of guilt or those kind of interesting narrative pieces there. But I get why people maybe don't love that retcon. It's not the end of the world for me, but he could never have just stayed as the Spectre, I think. I love that Spectre run. That's like some of my favorite shit ever.
Yeah.
Hal as the Spectre. But there was always going to be a kind of finite amount of time you could spend on that, because either he succeeds or he fails. And he either becomes Green Lantern, or he goes off into the great beyond, or he's fully Parallax forever and he's a vengeful thing and he's a
sure. Yeah.
Those are the only ways that ends.
Totally. All right, next question from Ben Forrest Stewart.
Oh, lock the door if you're coming in.
That's right. Lock the door if you're attending our live recording.
Oh yeah, shut fine, Expo.
That's right. Who asks, where did Maxwell Lord's betrayal come from? Sure, he was sketchy at best in Justice League International, but never seemed to be an outright villain. His willingness to murder Blue Beetle right before Infinite Crisis seems to have come out of nowhere. Am I missing something?
I mean, the big change in Maxwell Lord, and not necessarily that we saw every step of this evolution, because we did not. But the big difference between Maxwell Lord in Justice League International and Maxwell Lord in Countdown to Infinite Crisis is During Invasion, when the Dominators use the gene bomb, it activates Maxwell Lord's metagene, and it gives him the ability to mentally dominate people.
Yeah.
It's where he gets the nosebleed, and it takes him a lot of effort, but he gradually gets stronger and stronger. And Maxwell Lord was always power hungry. It was kind of a benign kind of 80s corporate power hungry when it was the JLI. That kind of just like, I just want to be in charge of like something profitable and like what,
sure,
like,
yeah.
He was a sellout, and he was, he would kind of orchestrate stuff, but it was about power. And then he got a taste of actual power, and that's the path.
Yeah.
And then by the time we get to Infinite Crisis, we've missed some steps along the way, but you assume that this has been building this whole time. You know what I mean? And I actually think it works. The tougher stuff is what to do with Max Lord after all of that. He, at that point, he gets so powerful, he mentally dominates Superman, and Wonder Woman is forced to kill him.
Yeah.
Well, quote, forced to. This fractures the Justice League even more, because they said, like, you shouldn't have killed them.
Yeah.
But she puts the lasso around him and says, how do I release Superman from your thing? And he goes, you can't. He says, kill me. And she's got the lasso on him. So she's going, all right. And she kills him, but it's televised. The world sees her just murder Maxwell Lord.
Wow.
It fractures her relationship with Batman and Superman. The Justice League basically breaks up. The Trinity breaks up. That's all the lead into Infinite Crisis. Maxwell Lord, since that time, has largely been a Wonder Woman villain.
Wow. Yeah, well, that's what we got.
When he's shown up
in the movie.
We got it in the movie, and he showed up in comics again, and his daughter, Liar Liar, also has a kind of like psychic power and stuff like that. And it's those ones are more difficult because now it feels like he's just a villain because he's a villain. Sure. Or he's kind of like, maybe I'll help you this time. But it's like,
how did he come back? Was that New 52 or what?
Yeah, it's sort of just like general people come back to life kind of bullshit. But the tricky thing is, I think you could make the argument that he got power and then he was like, oh, I should be the only one with this power. And you kind of lead to, because Infinite Crisis has a whole thing about like, this is the wrong Earth, or you're not real heroes. The world's too dark. Like, there's kind of an angle on it.
Yeah.
And he's not in on the Superboy Prime's plan, but like narratively it works. And anything after that point, you kind of go like, but what's in it for you now? And it doesn't necessarily make sense. So I actually think it feels like it's less out of nowhere in Infinite Crisis or Countdown to Infinite Crisis than when he shows up now and you're like, can we trust him? Be like what's his end game? Like, what does he want? You know,
why
he kind of is a sort of ally of Wonder Woman in his most recent kind of arc because his daughter, Liar Liar, is the real villain or whatever. But,
sure, yeah.
But even then, you go like, why? Like, I don't know. Maxwell Lord feels like he's slightly run out of steam. I think that's a good arc. Like, it's well read. It's not a slight on the run of that book. But as a character, you kind of go like, I think we might be done with this idea. You know, like he should probably just be a sort of benign kind of like the Penguin. You know, it's what I mean. Where he's like he's just doing his own thing, and sometimes it's nefarious, and sometimes it's not.
Sure,
but he's just over here. Like I feel like that's where Maxwell Lord is now for me.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave Instagram and head on over to Reddit,
where everyone's nice and no one's ever mean.
First question comes from Constipated Gandalf. It shall not pass.
A wizard never poops late.
Yeah.
Nor does he poop early.
He poops precisely
when he means to.
Who asks?
Fool of a poop. Throw yourself in next time and rid us of your stupidity.
That's good. I like Constipated Gandalf.
Him trying to talk himself through it.
Any other ones?
No, I'm all right.
Okay. When you look at the friendship of Lex Luthor and Clark Kent on Smallville, a lot of the reasons for its ending seems to be based on secrets and lies from both sides. In hindsight, who betrayed whom first, Clark or Lex? Ooh, so Smallville question.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's true. But let's put it in perspective here. Yes, Clark and Lex were friends, and Clark lied to him literally every single day. Never told him who he really was. Wasn't like I'm an alien. Didn't say I have powers. Didn't say whatever. Even when getting more and more directly confronted about it. And yes, Clark kept lying to him. Is that a great basis for a friendship? Absolutely not. But then you go, well, what was Lex hiding? And you go like, well, Lex was hiding that he like, you know, he was sort of complicit sometimes in Lionel's plans, or he had someone kidnapped, or he like the things Lex hid from Clark were always worse motivated than what Clark was hiding.
Sure, at the end of the day, Clark was hiding an alien. Like how could you trust anybody really?
Clark's hiding was always more of a like, well, that's personal. It's up to him if he shares that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Versus Lex's, which was like, I have something to hide.
Yes.
You know, like, so really, Lex is the one that betrayed Clark. But you are right to point out that Lex felt betrayed by Clark 100%. And that's how Smallville plays it. And they play it really well. And Michael Rosenbaum plays it so well on that show. Good. How hurt he is by Clark.
Yeah.
Not just that he wasn't told, but that Clark has all this power and what does he use it for? And like all those things like that in Lex's mind are betrayals.
Yeah.
You're betraying the idea of power. You're betraying your potential. You're betraying me. You're betraying like he plays all of those, justified or not, so well. So you're right to bring it up because Lex absolutely feels betrayed. But really, Lex is the betrayer.
Sure.
Because what does he do with it? He decides he has to be Clark's villain. He just takes on, no one made him. You know what I mean? But he takes on that role. He betrayed himself.
Yeah.
He betrayed his own potential, which is a classic Lex Luthor thing. Lex is always about what I could have done for the world if you weren't in my way. I'm not in your way.
Yeah.
You're just focused on me though.
Exactly.
Lex has always betrayed himself.
Yeah. All right, next question from Dasbull23, who asks, what is the biggest betrayal that the Bat family has faced? Is it Red Hood? That's me asking.
I mean, Red Hood. When Red Hood comes back and then he fights them all or whatever, I don't know that's necessarily
because isn't that betraying the concept of what Batman has taught them, and his whole thing is about more lethal reaction and
totally, and in that sense, yes. But again, the Lex thing, Red Hood is the one that feels betrayed. No one saved me. You got another Robin right away.
Sure,
all that kind of shit. Biggest betrayal of the Bat family.
And then Scarecrow shows up, and then the season's over,
and that's it.
That's all that happens.
That's very funny. There are minor betrayals all the time. The Bat family, and this is a thing that Arrow did all the time because it was clearly supposed to be a Batman show.
Yeah.
Was I have to do this. And Batman's always locking the Bat family in the cave.
Yeah.
Activate lockdown procedure, and he's on the other side of the gate when it comes down. They're like, Bruce, don't do this. And he's like, I can't have you get hurt. There's always bullshit like that. Stephanie Brown betrays Bruce by activating his in War Games. She takes his plan. Bruce had concocted this plan. Bruce's plans are always getting stolen, first of all. Bruce had concocted this plan to basically to end organized crime in Gotham, but it was this big kind of gambit. But the centerpiece of it was that it used Matches Malone. And she doesn't know that he's Matches Malone. So she tries...
That's because it's a perfect little...
it's me, Matches Malone.
Wayne Lone.
Yeah. I love... not being rich.
That's right. The worst thing you could do
is rich.
Yeah. And my parents are not dead in an alley.
No, not there.
Not there.
And not then.
Not at that.
But I also don't want to walk down there because it makes me cry.
Yeah.
Anyway. But Stephanie doesn't know that detail, that Bruce is Matches Malone. So she goes to execute this plan and it goes horribly wrong and launches a gang war. And she ends up dying. Well, it got retconned, but at the time she died. The betrayal in that particular case, the retcon is that Dr. Leslie Tompkins faked Stephanie's death to teach Bruce a lesson about involving children in his war.
Sure.
Which, is...
not a bad lesson, but
certainly a betrayal of that trust. Leslie Tompkins, longtime Bat family ally, has had enough.
Yeah.
And totally betrays the trust that way. She's right in a way. But, God, biggest betrayals. There's always some shit where someone is like, but this I have to do on my own. And they, take out their knees. But that's it happens so often that you can't be like, well, that was a big one. Batwoman every once in a while relapses into military mode and kind of eschews the Bat family's code for her own slightly more rigorous kind of version of justice. That happens sometimes, but that again happens a couple of times and you go all right. I don't know. That's a tough question, I think.
The worst
betrayal, they're also
yeah.
the most paranoid people ever, so even when they do get betrayed, they're kind of I knew this would happen. So it's
sure.
It's not like betrayal.
It's always like somebody just like, it's like, you're not supposed to go after this guy. And then I still found a way.
Yeah, it's always just like that kind of shit.
Yeah,
I would argue that the actual betrayal is limited.
Sure. Yeah. I do think that maybe the Jason Todd thing is probably.
It's probably the closest you get, maybe.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Armpit the Hero.
How dare you? I love you, Armpit.
Who asks, can you talk about Jade betraying Kyle in their relationship? Do you think they can rekindle their love?
So Jade, Jenny Lynn Hayden, is the daughter of Alan Scott.
Okay.
And she has her own kind of inherent power.
Yeah.
And then she also was briefly a member of the Green Lantern Corps. But she dated Kyle Rayner for a time.
Sure.
And at some point in there, Kyle, I think it was when Kyle was Ion, Kyle's like, I'm going off on space adventures. And she had lost her power or something. So she was stuck on Earth. And she kind of felt sort of left behind by Kyle, who was off saving the universe and being Ion and doing all that kind of shit. And he comes back to Earth at some point, and it's been months, and she's living with someone else. Now, they never, like, broke up or whatever.
He just pieced out.
But he pieced out, and she was like, well, shit. And
I'm not waiting on you.
She moved on and technically cheated on him, but, you know.
Yeah, fair.
It's messy. But, yeah, I mean, it certainly counts as a betrayal, but it's not unjustified or unjustified is not the right word. It's not unmotivated or
sure
out of character or anything like that. And, you know, in her shoes, be like, she feels left behind. How long is she supposed to wait? Does she know when he's coming back? Any of this kind of shit. So it's technically it is a betrayal of the cheating variety. Listen, cheating in DC all the goddamn time.
Looking at you, Arrow.
Oh man, Green Arrow. Could you imagine stepping out on Black fucking Canary?
I mean, we know you have feelings.
I would swallow a landmine to worship at the fish-netted legs. I mean, the audacity.
All right. Okay.
Oliver Queen,
let's
you
go to the
piece
next
of
question.
shit.
Next question comes from
to be the watermelon between those thighs.
And from Alfred is Zaddy. How did the Guardians of the Universe not see the betrayal from a guy named Sinestro until it was too late?
Yeah, a guy named Sinestro with a very thin mustache. He couldn't look more like a villain. Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, it's funny when they retcon things, like his name is Sinestro because he's a bad guy and it's the 60s and we wrote a comic book. But then also, they go back later and it's like, no, his given name is Sinestro. He's called Thal Sinestro. Yeah. Like, look, Sheev Palpatine. Like, we just make up another name for him.
Sinestro bad guyism.
Yeah, exactly. It's funny. It's like, well, on our world, it doesn't mean shit.
Yeah.
It was like, well, on my world, it means fucking evil.
Yeah. Sinister.
Yeah. It is funny to imagine Hal being like, his name was what?
Yeah.
You guys should have had Earth Green Lanterns in here. We could have
fixed this pretty quickly.
Fucking warned you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just silly comic book shit, right? Like,
absolutely.
They called a bad guy Sinestro because it's a great comic book bad guy name. And then later they had to be like, yeah, and this is my father, like Larry Sinestro.
Yes.
And this is...
We're the Sinestros.
yeah. We're the Sinestros.
Yeah.
Like they have like a sitcom or some shit.
All right. With that, why don't we leave Reddit and head on over to the doc score?
Fuck.
Doc score.
I swear to fucking God, if you don't let me come up with a fucking thing right now.
You do. Just come up with it.
I could do it.
Okay.
Right away.
Because
I can do it on demand.
Because you get a week to prepare.
If you let me.
Week to prepare.
If you let me do this on demand, I'll do it on demand.
Okay. DOD.
So here we go.
Uh-huh.
On demand.
Yep.
The thing you've been asking for. Mm-hmm. You've been waiting all week for it.
Yep.
Someone's got a song for the doc score.
That guy is.
It's not you.
Nope.
It's not you.
Nope,
pointing at you, listeners.
Yeah.
It's me. I have one. And here it comes right now. Take a drink first. Got to make sure I'm ready. in your ducks. The dogs scored. I am come dogs scored. Scored solution. Dogs scored. Of all my dogs scored searching. Yeah. Fuck yeah. Peter Gabriel, baby. Fucking nailed it.
Yeah, you know what? That was worth it.
And I had that the whole time.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you did. No, the build up for that was important.
And natural.
Yeah. Nothing
Most
could be more
importantly.
natural.
Yeah.
Nice pair of naturals. On
Yeah,
there.
some supernaturals.
First question comes from Big Bear. Donaires. Oh, yeah.
Your thing only means anything to us.
That's all I ever care about.
True.
Can you talk a little more about when the Joker betrayed the Red Skull in the Marvel DC crossover?
Fuck, I don't even remember which crossover it is, but it's, you could search this very easily on Google, but there's a moment where, Red Skull is whatever his fucking plan is, but the Joker betrays him ultimately because Red Skull is a Nazi. The Joker has some line like, I may be an agent of chaos, or I may be a villain, but I'm not a fucking Nazi. And that's like even the Joker has like moral high ground over the Red Skull, which is, I kind of like it actually. I think it works with the Joker. Not necessarily that the Joker has a moral stance, but the joke of being as like violent and horrible as the Joker and then getting the moral high ground on someone, like I think it's less about like the Joker has never been like, and I hate the Jews.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's
like,
100% true. But it's less about the Joker being like anti-Nazi, I think, and more about the Joker being like I get to have moral high ground.
Which
like that's a funny joke.
Yeah, that is.
I don't think it's necessarily played that way, but that's my like head canon for that moment.
But it's true. I mean,
Joker's never been about genocide. He's never been like,
he's also never about
at midnight all the black people in Gotham will die. Like he's never done anything.
He's also
like that. Like,
nothing he does is. I mean, he does things based on hate, but that's based on things that have happened, like things that like people have done towards him.
But it's also chaos, and chaos by definition is random.
Yeah.
So the idea of this orchestrated, targeted, focused hate is legitimately outside of Joker's understanding and even like desire.
Yeah, unless it's the bat, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but even that is, it's like a couple of people. It's not, Joker doesn't like, he hasn't like decimated all the flocks of bats around the world. Like, although, but genocide's not Joker's shit.
It's
so
true.
It is funny to see the Red Skull be like, like, I don't think he has this moment, but like, am I the bad guy?
Sure.
Like, I was too evil for the Joker. It's kind of a funny thing. I like it though. It's good moment.
All right, next question from Mullet of Careless
Rock,
who asks, what the fuck was Dick thinking handing Barbara an invitation to him and Corey's wedding while getting dressed after their booty call?
Listen, we talk shit about Azzarello. We talk shit about Miller.
Uh-huh.
I think it's time we talk a little bit of shit about Chuck Dixon.
Yeah. Time we take a Dixon down.
Yeah. Hey, get chucked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That would be my like in-house solicit if I was Chuck Dixon. I'm writing a new book. Get chucked. You don't know Chuck about it. What the Chuck?
Yeah, fuck, that's so good.
It's good, man. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that what happened here is in Nightwing Year One, which is Chuck Dixon joint. And in that book, Dick and Corey are getting married. And leading up to the wedding, Dick cheats on Corey by hooking up with Barbara, who not very long ago has been paralyzed by the Joker. So Barbara's in a vulnerable place, I'd say,
Can't
emotionally.
feel anything from the waist down, eh?
Jesus. Good Lord. I mean, I should have seen this being handled with the usual sensitivity. But yeah, so Dick and Barbara hook up, and then afterwards Dick is like, so do you want to come to the wedding? Like,
insane.
it hurts Barbara because she thinks maybe she and Dick are getting close again.
Yeah.
It ultimately is Dick being bad to Corey. It's a Dick move all around, pun intended. Yeah, it's bad. And Chuck Dixon, it's just like, isn't that cool? He can fuck whoever he wants.
Yeah. Or it's not played as like a jerk thing.
I mean, it is. It's not played as fully cool, but it's like, why would you make him do this?
Yeah.
Like, why would you do this to this character? Like, it's one thing for him to be kind of a freewheeler, but like, he's about to get married.
Yeah.
Why would you make him do this? And to Barbara in this emotional state and shit. Like, it's less about like the character assassination of Dick Grayson and more about like, how the fuck dare you do this to Barbara
after everything?
You know, like, I think that's more it than anything.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
All right. Next question. Coming from Ryan the Prime, who asks, did Tara have any feelings of regret for betraying the Titans in Judas Contract?
Oh, good question. She dies during that. I think she does. I'm trying to remember, actually. I think she does. I think there is a sort of kind of regret turn in there, and Tara has come back to life a couple of times. You kind of like a little bit. Sure. I think the bigger regret for Tara is being kind of abused and manipulated by Slade. I think that's a bigger Slade. That's a bigger regret, I would say, than the betrayal of the Titans. Is being used by Slade that easily. You know what I mean? But yes, I'm positive that she had a kind of guilt moment. Don't ask me to tell you when it happens because I can't remember. And the problem with that, like, that story has been like either ignored or retconned a couple of times too. So there's like weird layers of
why?
Like,
is something fucked up about that?
Well, there's
story?
layers of like which pieces happened and how.
What piece would you not want to have happened?
I mean, I know what piece I wouldn't want to have happened, but but yeah, so there's some slight confusion about precisely what happened and when and all of those kind of things. But yeah, I think generally she probably regrets having done that.
Absolutely.
Whether or not it's about like personally feeling sad about betraying her friends, the Titans, or being upset that she got used by Slade, or being upset that she fucking died during it, or like, I think, say, did she regret betraying in that sense? Be like, for some reason, yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next question from holodeck janitor Butt, who asks,
worst job on the ship.
Yeah. When Sinestro turned his back on the GLC and created the Yellow Lanterns, did any GLC members go with him?
Well, no, not in that moment, because when he was betrayed, he was sent to Quard in exile in the antimatter universe. And there he discovers the yellow light, and he basically enlists the weaponers of Quard to create the yellow ring. Later, he gets people to join him. Now, in the lead up to Sinestro Corps War, when the rings go out and search, they find Arkillo, it finds whatever. Now, not everyone that joined was necessarily a Green Lantern first, but there are people with connections to Green Lanterns. So, for example, Amon Sur. So the son of Abin Sur, the Green Lantern who died, who Hal inherited his ring. Amon Sur joins the Yellow Lanterns, joins the Sinestro Corps. Tomar II, the son of Tomar Ray, joins the Sinestro Corps. Like there are people that join, but not necessarily. It's not that Sinestro. They're like, you're cutting your badge, and Sinestro's like, this is bullshit, and other people leave with him, because that's not the circumstances of it. They exiled him, and then he was like, oh fuck, a different color light, and then he makes a thing, and then he shows up, and then he recruits.
Sure,
it's not quite like this. The setup isn't that like a faction of Lanterns leave with him. It's actually generally that they're all appalled that he did it, and they're like, yeah, kick him out.
Mm-hmm.
The Green Lanterns are a relative like unit around that.
Mm-hmm.
They're such a fucking unit. Like Kilowog, he's a fucking unit.
Hell yeah. Next question comes from First Mage, who asks, why did Harley turn against the Joker? Do you prefer her as a villain or as an anti-hero?
I mean, the simple answer is because the
Anti-hero.
Joker was bad.
Because the Joker was bad.
Jesus. I was answering the first part of the question first. Yeah, and she has friends like Catwoman and Ivy who are like, you actually don't need this shit. And she's like, oh. And then by the time she's on the Suicide Squad, it's like, oh, I really don't. Yeah. All like with many abusive relationships, all she needs is the little bit of distance and then the realization.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it, then when every time he comes back in and, you know, that cycle starts again, she can recognize it more. But she just needs that little bit of distance first. It doesn't take much.
Yeah.
Now, you jumped right in. You prefer Harley as an anti-hero.
Of course.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. Who doesn't? Like,
totally. I particularly like the version that we mostly have in the comics, but even also in the cartoon. Someone who, by and large, is like, yeah, I don't want to blow up Gotham City. Like, I don't want to like hurt people for no reason, but also like,
she's not a cause.
It's like we're just like, I'm bored. Can we shoplift? Like,
yeah, she likes crime for like the chaos and fun of it all, but she's not like a cause.
And she's
like,
not cruel.
No.
You know, she doesn't like crime for the death
or the human toll.
Yeah, so I love that version of Harley. Now, Harley like working with the Bat family, which is coming in the new season of Harley Quinn, which is amazing, but is also her in the comics. She works with the Bat family. Like,
has she ever interacted with Captain Cold? Because that would be an interesting combo.
Oh, I see. Not in any really meaningful way.
That would be fun. Those two together?
I think Cold would have very little patience.
But that's kind of funny.
Her. Oh, it's absolutely funny, but like,
yeah,
that's a real
two people who don't really do crime because crime is like.
I know
money,
where you're coming from. It's funny because I mean Harley in the comics has gone even a step further. She's basically like
a hero.
She's attempting to be a hero. She kind of fucks it up sometimes, and she, you know, probably more collateral damage than other heroes and stuff like that. But she's really working at specific heroism, not the kind of on again, off again shit. She's only an anti-hero in the sense that like her methods are maybe still a little brutal.
Yeah.
Or unrefined.
Sure.
But like philosophically, she's basically like full hero.
Because at that point, then it's like, is Arrow
the worst she does is just go like, hey, I stole a car to come see you, Ives.
Yeah.
Which is like, yeah, that's technically a crime, but like Batman breaks into people's houses all the time. So like,
where's the line?
You know, like it's fine.
Totally.
Yeah.
All right. Last question from Drago the Black Rose, who asks, how did Mr. Miracle get Barda to turn her back and essentially betray the female Furies? Like, Mr. Miracle hung like a horse? Or is he just a real love?
God, I hope not, because I need to learn how he did it. I got to keep my marriage intact.
I know. All you've got is real love.
Yeah. And I don't know if that's going to do it. No, what it really is that she's inspired by his spirit. Like, he grew up in the X pits. He was given away by his father, essentially, which, like, whether or not it was for some cosmic truce, sucks.
Yeah.
That's a betrayal.
Yeah.
You know.
Yep.
He grew up in the X pits. He was tortured, all this stuff, and he always tried to escape. And they'd catch him, and they'd throw him back in, and he would try again. And he was unbreakable. And Barda, who's leader of the Furies, sort of paragon of strength and brutality and stuff like that. I mean, you have to admire that, like, he's the one person on Apocalypse that couldn't be broken.
Does she betray the female Furies? Because I thought that she still like hangs out with them. And stuff,
I mean,
right?
In that King Mr. Miracle book, they really play a sort of like weird ambiguity of stuff. You know what I mean? Which is very fun in that book and works. But she does. She leaves the female Furies. She helps Scott escape. They escape to Earth, and then they fight Apocalypse whenever they come to Earth.
Sure. She
turns, right? Now, that book plays it as like, yeah. Like, we'll get back to the war in a sec. Right now, you're having a baby. We're sisters.
Yeah.
Like, it's a really fun dynamic in that book, but it's not necessarily representative of the gravity of what Barda did.
Sure.
Which is she totally changes her life, her outlook. She leaves the Furies, leaves Apocalypse, doesn't believe in that cause, leaves her sisters essentially to be with Scott. And yeah, I mean, it's because he was inspiring. He couldn't be broken. He's like the living embodiment of freedom. Like, this is not necessarily an idea that calcifies until later, but they are new gods. Many of them embody an idea.
Sure.
And Scott Free is the new god of freedom. He literally cannot be contained. You cannot enslave him because. So maybe you could keep him in a room or something or whatever. But
sure.
A, he'll find his way physically out, and B, you'll never break his mind. You'll never make him see your way if your way is not freedom.
Yeah.
So like that's I think Barda respected that, and it kind of, she saw that there was actually hope. There was like a light on the other side. There were some things like, what's the thing Sam says in Lord of the Rings, like a star in the sky that the darkness can't touch kind of thing. I think that's what Scott is for her.
Awesome. Well, that was the last
Also, he's got a big fucking hog.
Yeah, fuck yeah. That was the last.
It's a Mr. Miracle. She can take it.
Jesus. I mean, she is big Barda.
Hello again to my mom's friends who are listening.
All the new listeners who maybe
really sorry.
Who, like, for some reason got this far through.
So sorry.
Yeah,
my God.
I'm not. This is just more of what's about to come. Looking at you,
Mr. Miracle.
Right.
Rocking a fucking fire hose.
Well, joy hose.
Sorry, a hose of joy.
Yep. We would love to hear from you residents. Maybe you want to send a question for a future episode.
Yeah, so you'll notice if you, the Golden Age patrons, we didn't have you vote this month.
Yeah.
Because we're recording a live episode.
That's right.
And we're like guest TBD, and we're kind of,
it's going to happen.
That theme's going to come together and be what it is. But you guys get to vote on 2 episodes for September. So we'll send those themes out as they happen. But yeah, just keep an eye out on social media for when we put out the call for questions. But if a question just comes to you, you can also just send it whenever. Well, that's fine too.
Yeah. And then who knows what the next episode theme is.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I'm going to pitch something right now that I think is A, funny, and B, hedges bets.
Oh.
Let's say no one comes to our live show.
Okay.
I think
possible.
Then I think we just insert sitcom laugh tracks.
Oh yeah.
Over just an episode we record. Whatever we record there, if it's silent, you just put like, at weird times and shit.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you
actually, even if people come, I think we should do that.
Yeah, unless there's like a lot of people.
So if you hear that, you know,
probably fake.
You know what happened. Yeah.
Any laughter you hear, it's probably fake.
Yeah, even if it sounds really organic.
No. If it sounds like there's 175
it's just how
room,
much effort Richard put into the edit. That's all.
It's just how much effort, how upset I am and sad.
Yeah, exactly.
You make up for it.
Yeah.
But you could send all those questions to our various social media platforms.
Dr. DC Podcast on Facebook, Threads, and Instagram. Dr. DC on TikTok and Blue Sky, which I'm also trying. I'm just
What's
like
a Blue Sky?
Blue Sky is the one that Jack from Twitter started when he left.
What?
I'm just shooting black, but it's like invite only. I finally got invited.
Whoa!
So thank you, James Fund. But at any rate, we're over there too if you're there. drdcpodcast@gmail.com if you want to send stuff by email. 208-917-3238. That's the doc phone, baby.
917-DCEU.
If you're nasty.
That's correct.
We got a website, drdcpodcast.com or .ca. You can go to Reddit, check out our subreddit. It's r/Dr_DC.
If you want to give us a 5-star review, why don't you go on to any of the platforms you listen to this podcast, give us a 5-star review, take a screenshot and email it over to us.
Yeah, baby.
Also, if you want even more content from us every single week.
If you can handle it.
I mean, there's so much, like, you better be...
If you can handle our Mr. Miracle-sized content.
Then you better be a big Barda where it counts.
Yeah.
in the ears.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean.
Oh, unfortunately.
We've got a Patreon.
Yeah, patreon.com/DrDC. There's a $1, $5, $7 level. They all give you access to the Discord, our awesome online Discord fan community. And at the higher levels, you get weekly bonus episodes. We're in Eat Gist right now on the double dose. We're going to be going to Stormcrow in Toronto, which is going to be a lot of fun.
We're heading into next month, Challenge Month.
September is Challenge Month. Fucking brace yourself. I have challenges ready for you.
Me too.
Mine are, I think, more deranged than yours.
Yours always tend to be when we do these types of things.
And at the highest level, theme polls and extra content. The current series Bonding Time, a weekly James Bond rewatch that me and my wife are doing.
So cute.
We just did You Only Live Twice. This week's episode will be the only Lazenby Bond on Her Majesty's Secret Service.
Right, an Australian Bond.
An Australian dirtbag playing James Bond.
You're going to have lots of good stories.
So support us there. It helps us out.
That's right.
Helps us go to cool things like Fan Expo.
Absolutely, including our other podcast is able to do a live recording at Fan Expo. That's right, it's Ghostfacers.
Ghostfacers, we're also doing a live show. A Supernatural rewatch. We're going through every single episode of the CW Supernatural. We're almost finished season 7, and we talk about real world monster lore, behind the scenes stuff about the show. It's a great time, and like Richard said, we're representing both of our shows.
We're such famed Canadian podcasters that we're given 2 live recording opportunities.
We're going to Fan Expo Toronto at all.
The largest Comic-Con in the country. In the entire country.
B, we're doing a live show of Dr. DC and a live show of Ghostfacers. That's on the Friday and the Saturday.
Yeah.
C, we're spending a bunch of time at the Canadian Podcast Awards booth, so you can come and meet us and come say hi, and we're there because we're winners.
And D, one of the largest news publications in Canada, also talked about it on there.
We were mentioned by name in the Toronto Star somehow.
Fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, do you ever feel like we're too good at bluffing?
We're about to find out.
Man.
Look, this is my entire life, which is like, how big of a hand can I play before it falls on me?
I mean, listen, I don't know. I think it's fine. We're just going to do it.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Do you want to be there to witness it? Show up.
Yeah.
This week.
Oh, wait a minute. Oh, yeah. That's a good idea.
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So, yeah, get your tickets. If you're around, if you're close, if you can come out, we want to see you there.
And if you're not, fucking, we deserve it. So,
yeah.
Get your asses there.
Baby.
Ciao, ciao.
Adios.
They always fight for what is right. Live with danger and adventure. They are men of might.
This was a Brain Freeze podcast.